I never thought a single moment could unravel years of life I thought were solid. But there I was, standing in the center of a crowded, glittering living room, staring at her as she turned away from me like I was a stranger. The party was buzzing. Soft jazz in the background, the clink of glasses, laughter spilling from every corner. But for me, it all faded the moment I stepped up behind her, arms open for the hug I had always offered first thing in the morning, first thing at night for 10 years. "Hey," I said gently, my voice slicing through the music. She whipped around, her eyes blazing with something I couldn't quite name. Anger, fear, shame. "Don't you dare," she shouted, stepping back, her hand raised as if to ward me off. Froze. The room went silent around us, not really, but it felt like it. Her friends glanced over, eyebrows raised, sensing the tension, sensing that something between us had just snapped. "Excuse me," I managed, my voice lower now, uncertain. "I said don't you dare touch me," she hissed, her face flushed. Not from the music, not from the heat of the room, but from a fury I didn't understand. She stormed past me, weaving through guests with an intensity one hadn't seen since our early days of dating when we fought over small, silly things. And just like that, something inside me shattered. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, counting the beams, listening to the hum of the city outside, replaying every moment. My hands itched to text her, to ask what had just happened, to demand an explanation. But I didn't. The words wouldn't come. My mind refused them. Because deep down I already knew. Her behavior at the party wasn't a fluke. It wasn't stress. It wasn't some irrational moment. It was a signal, a crack in the foundation I had spent years believing was unbreakable. The next morning, I woke up to the usual silence of our bedroom, except it wasn't usual. It was empty, almost sterile, like the warmth had been erased overnight. I sat up in bed, tracing the edge of the duvet with my fingers, feeling the hollow space where she should have been next to me. She appeared in the doorway, hair slightly tousled, a faint frown on her face. "Morning," she said, her voice neutral, careful. I looked at her for a long time. I could see her trying to gauge my mood, trying to predict if I'd explode, forgive, or retreat. But I had already made my decision in the quiet, sleepless hours of the night. "Morning," I said softly, standing. I avoided her eyes. "Coffee," she offered, a tentative olive branch. "No," I said. The word felt heavy but precise. I didn't need coffee. I didn't need niceties. I needed clarity, and I was done pretending everything was fine. She blinked. "What's wrong?" I let out a long breath, the kind that carries years of pent-up frustration and grief. "I can't do this anymore," I said. "I can't pretend we're fine. I can't pretend you didn't just reject me last night. I can't pretend you didn't betray me, whatever your reason might be." Her face went pale. "Betray you? What are you talking about?" "I don't need to spell it out," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I saw the way you acted. I felt the way you pushed me away. No. I realized something. I can't marry someone who doesn't trust me, doesn't love me, or worse, doesn't respect me." She opened her mouth, closed it, tried to speak, but no words came. That was the thing about betrayal. It doesn't always need proof in that moment. Sometimes intuition, gut instinct, and the undeniable change in someone's behavior are enough. The night before had replayed in my mind relentlessly. I remembered the way she had laughed with someone across the room, a subtle touch on his arm, a look that lingered too long. I remembered her sudden defensiveness when I had approached her, the heat in her eyes that wasn't directed at me. And the hug, the one hug that used to mean everything, was rejected. It was a tiny moment, but in it the truth screamed. "You're imagining things," she said finally, her voice trembling, a mixture of fear and defiance. Maybe I was upset, maybe I didn't want to be touched then. "That's all. You're overreacting." I shook my head. "No, I'm not imagining. And I'm not overreacting. I can't ignore what I felt. I can't ignore that you didn't want me. That in front of everyone you rejected me. And I realized, if this is who you are, if this is how our marriage would be, I can't do it. I love you, but I don't love betrayal. And I don't love fear. Her eyes filled with tears now, the kind I didn't recognize. Fear, regret, or maybe guilt. She stepped closer, reaching out, but I stepped back. I can explain, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I don't want explanations, I said. I want honesty. And what I see isn't honesty. Something else. Something that doesn't include me. I packed a small bag later that morning. Clothes, toothbrush, a few personal things. She didn't protest. She didn't follow. She only watched, tears streaming silently down her cheeks, as if she were witnessing the death of something she couldn't save. I left the house quietly, the street bright in the morning sun, each step heavy, deliberate. I felt anger, sorrow, and a strange sense of relief all tangled together. Relief because I had freed myself from uncertainty. Relief because I had acted before resentment could fester into hatred. Relief because I realized that love without respect and trust is a cage, not a home. Weeks passed. I moved into a small apartment downtown, a place of quiet reflection. I went to work, tried to eat, tried to sleep, but grief has a way of following you, of sneaking into the spaces you thought were safe. Then came the message. A single text. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you. Sorry. Please. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the reply button. But I didn't reply. Because some wounds aren't healed with words. Some betrayals aren't fixed with apologies. And some endings, no matter how much you love, are the only way forward. Months later, I ran into her at a mutual friend's gathering. She looked different, hollowed, changed, but still beautiful in that effortless way that had drawn me to her in the first place. She approached me, hesitant. Can we talk? I shook my head. No, we can't. We already did, in the only way that mattered. That night, when you rejected me, and the next morning, when I realized I couldn't marry fear and dishonesty. That was our conversation. It's over. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. I turned, walking away. Each step a small reclaiming of myself, of my dignity, of my heart. For the first time in months I felt the weight lift. Not completely, but enough to breathe again. Betrayal had burned a hole through my life, yes, but in that destruction there was clarity, there was truth, and there was a beginning. Love is often described as eternal, as unyielding, as a force that conquers all. But love alone cannot survive deceit. Love alone cannot survive fear, disrespect, or betrayal. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do for yourself, and for what love remains, is to walk away. I had loved her deeply. I had trusted her implicitly. And in return, I had received a rejection so profound it reshaped my understanding of who I was, what I deserved, and what a marriage should truly be. That night at the party, she rejected my hug. That next morning, I rejected our marriage. And in that rejection, I found the freedom to survive, to grieve, and eventually to hope again.